Welcome to the second episode of Philosophy Basics. Today we'll be traveling all the way back to ancient Greece. So grab your tunics, your wine, and your statues and come along. What do the earliest philosophers, a barefoot gadfly, a biologist with a scroll, and a man obsessed with ideals, have in common? They all build Western philosophy, and probably overthought things more than I do. This episode will be divided into four parts: the Presocratics, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Let's go! Before Socrates, Greeks weren't the philosophers you might think of today. They were more like early scientists. Also, imagine being so important somebody named an entire period of philosophy after you. Hey, maybe after I publish my bachelor thesis, you will all know this period of time as the pre-that philosophy girl era. Yeah, let's keep dreaming. Pre-Socratics were concerned with the nature of things. They wanted to know the arche, or first substance of all things. The arche was the common denominator of everything, what made our hearts beat, animals breathe, and plants grow. There are four main pre-Socratic philosophers, and they each had their own idea of what arche was. Thales of Mileto, considered as one of the seven wise men of Greece, is commonly known for breaking with the use of mythology as an explanation for natural phenomena, and instead advocated for the use of logos, or reason. He said that this something, this arche, was water. All living things needed water to survive, thus arche must be water. Anaximander considered the constitutive principle of things to be apeiron, which is neither water, nor earth, nor fire, nor air. It has no concrete form. It is infinite. The cosmos is born, develops, and dies within this apeiron. Heraclitus, on the other hand, believed that the thing that all living things have in common is change. He also believed that the cosmos was a fiery transmutation. Heraclitus was famous for his emphasis on change. He saw the world in a constant flux, changing while remaining the same, which he expressed in the saying, "No man ever steps twice in the same river." Parmenides, on the contrary, said change is an illusion. He wrote an epic poem, not epic as in epic, but epic as in literature epic, divided in two. The first part was the way of truth. In this part, he talks about this being and describes it as an alien to generation and corruption, and is therefore unbegotten and indestructible. It is the only thing that truly exists, thereby denying the existence of nothingness. It is homogeneous, immobile, and perfect. Essentially, what is. These thinkers were obsessed with what the world was made of, but their ideas also set the stage for metaphysics, ontology, and even science. Then comes Socrates, who didn't write anything down but still managed to mess with everybody's heads for 2,500 years. Make that make sense. His vibe? Ask annoying questions until people realize they don't actually know what they're talking about. He invented, guess what? The Socratic method, aka constant questioning. Imagine all day, why this? Why that? Why did you specialize in philosophy instead of economics? I don't know, Dad. I don't know. Socrates competes with a lot of philosophers for the title of father of logic because his method consisted on quite literally just asking questions. Legend even says he taught a young boy mathematics simply by asking him and make him reach his own conclusions. This even applied to his moral teachings. Instead of preaching moral doctrines, as in something is always bad, killing is always bad, that what's beneficial for the largest amount of people, he taught about the proper method of inquiry to get there. stating the unexamined life is not worth living. He was condemned by the very laws he spent his life defending, the laws of Athens, accused of corrupting the youth and not worshipping the gods, or as I like to call it, classic academic behavior. Socrates' student, Plato, did write things down. A lot. In dialogues featuring Socrates as the star, he explained all his theories. His big idea, the theory of forms. Basically, the physical world is just a shadow of the real ideal world. We see this through the allegory of the cave, where people who have been inside a cave forever can only see the world through the shadows of objects projected in the fire. So imagine this. You're born and raised in a cave, not just any man cave with snacks and football. This is a cold, dark cave where everyone is chained to a wall like it's a very extreme yoga class gone wrong. The only thing you can see? Shadows projected in the wall in front of you. Why? Because there's a fire behind you and some puppeteers walking around behind a low wall holding up objects. You think the shadows are real things because you've never seen anything else. It's like growing up watching reality TV, thinking that that's how people actually behave. One day, someone, let's call him Greg, breaks free. He turns around and sees the fire. First thought, ow, my eyes! Second thought, wait a second, are those cardboard cutouts? He's stunned. Reality isn't just shadows? So he stumbles out of the cave into the real world. Sunlight hits him like he's a vampire late to sunscreen. Eventually, his eyes adjust, and he sees the actual world. Trees, lakes, people, colors, the whole HD experience. Then he realizes, wow, I've been living in a cave. Now, Greg is a good guy, so he runs back into the cave to tell everybody else the truth. The others, not thrilled. Bro, the shadows are fine. Don't read the shadows of the Kardashians for us. Some even want to kill him for suggesting that shadow reality isn't real. TLDR, life is a cave, education is painful, truth is bright, and people hate the guy who brings life. And I'm just realizing that that is me. So please don't hate me. Look at this picture of a deer instead. Anyway, if you've ever heard someone say philosophy is not a real job, they're either messing with you or just really big fans of Plato. Plato also wrote The Republic, also known as the only reason we know Socrates existed. It's his theory about how society should work. He has a bit of a democracy hater moment, but it's okay. We forgive him. He has really big muscles, and he would definitely hit me if I said something wrong about him, if he were alive. So, picture this. Socrates is out strolling around Athens, as usual, minding other people's business. He ends up at a guy's house, and instead of just enjoying the snacks and wine like a normal guest, he decides to hijack the evening by asking a really casual, hey, what do you think justice is? From there, it's 9 books of philosophical rambling about life. The Republic isn't so much a book as a really long group chat conversation where only one guy speaks, the guy being Socrates, and he just won't stop texting. The central question is, what is justice? But instead of just answering it like a normal person, Socrates insists on building an entire city from scratch to figure it out. It's basically him saying, I can't tell you what justice is, but let me write a long fan fiction and maybe we'll get there. So he imagines this ideal city where everybody has a specific role. Builders build, bakers bake, and philosophers sit around in tunics making everybody feel insecure. Justice, according to Socrates, is when everybody does their job and stays in their lane. So no bakers philosophizing and no philosophers baking. Because let's be honest, they would just let the bread burn while pondering the meaning of yeast. Although I do make amazing chocolate chip cookies, so that wouldn't happen to me. Then he casually drops the real hot take. The best rulers should be philosophers, not because they're charming or great at public speaking, because they actually hate ruling, and only do it because it's the right thing. Socrates basically argues that the person most qualified to lead is the one who desperately doesn't want the job. So, yes, your most reluctant group project partner is actually Plato's dream president. Now, kids in the city, they're raised by the state, not their parents. Marriage is arranged by this sort of ancient lottery, and poetry, drama, and every sort of art is heavily censored because they might make you feel things, and we can't have that. The whole society is built like a well-oiled machine with zero tolerance for chaos or creative self-expression. If Plato were alive today, he'd probably block Disney Plus and make everybody listen to Gregorian chants. No hate to Gregorian chants, they're just not for me. And just when you think Plato is done laying down the rules for his utopia, he hits you with a regime tier list. According to him, political systems decay like leftovers. First, you got the best, aristocracy, where the wise, meaning the philosophers, rule with reason. But then things start slipping. Aristocracy devolves into timocracy, where the military guys take over. Think Sparta with way more testosterone. Then comes oligarchy, where the rich rule and everybody pretends trickle down justice is a thing. After that, democracy, which Plato thinks is a chaotic mess where everybody does whatever they want, like a political rave with no bouncer. And finally, the worst of the worst, tyranny. That's when one power-hungry guy takes over, fueled by paranoia and ego, and turns the city into a one-man drama series with bloodshed. Plato ranks tyranny below even democracy, which might just tell you how much he hated mob rule. Then, somewhere deep into the book, after a lot of philosophical detours, Socrates dropped the Allegory of the Cave, which is his dramatic way of saying, hey, by the way, everyone's been living in ignorance their whole lives and doesn't even know it. It's Plato's way of warning that if you try to educate the masses, they might just thank you by throwing rocks to your head. And that's really what the Republic is. Part political theory, part moral handbook, part ancient TED talk. It's Plato's dreaming up a world where reason rules, philosophers are in charge, art is heavily censored, and everyone knows their place. Whether it's genius or just an elaborate excuse for Plato to complain about democracy, which he really, really didn't like, depends on how much caffeine you've had while reading it. Let's talk about Aristotle, Plato's star student. Science nerd, ethics guru, and all around let's organize everything kind of guy. If Plato was the dreamy idealist wandering around talking about shadow worlds and philosopher-kings, Aristotle is the guy in the back taking notes of everything and asking himself, cool story, but how do we actually make it happen? Where Plato built castles in the sky, Aristotle wanted to build IKEA furniture, something useful, sturdy, and preferably with a step-by-step guide. One of Aristotle's big things was teleology, the idea that everything in nature has a purpose, a goal, a final cause. Basically, he looked at the world and went, nothing is just is, everything is for something. A knife exists to cut, an acorn exists to become a tree, you exist to flourish as a human being and not doom scroll until 3 a.m. He thought this purpose-driven logic applied to everything, from biology to politics to the meaning of life. Aristotle didn't believe things were random or pointless. Instead, everything trying to become its best self. In modern terms, every object, plant, animal, and person is there in their own little self-improvement arc. If Aristotle were around today, he'd probably love personal development podcasts and have a bullet journal titled Actualize Thyself. Now, when it came to ethics, Aristotle wasn't into strict rules such as never lie or always tell the truth. No, his vibe was more like read the room. He introduced the concept of the golden mean, the idea that virtue lies between two extremes. Courage, that sweet spot between cowardice and recklessness. Generosity, between stinginess and throwing a cash around like you just won the lottery. He basically saw ethics as an emotional Goldilocks. Don't be too hot, don't be too cold, be just right. And becoming virtuous wasn't a one time thing, it was more like building a muscle. You gotta practice good habits over time until being decent comes naturally. Kind of like moral weightlifting, minus the protein shakes. And all of this, the virtues, the moderation, the life of reason, leads to eudaimonia, Aristotle's fancy Greek word for happiness. But not the Netflix and chill kind. Think deeper. Think fulfillment, flourishing, being the best version of yourself. It's the kind of happiness that comes from living a life of purpose and good habits, not from buying a new scented candle and calling it self care. Eudaimonia is the final boss of human existence. It's what you get when you've mastered the golden mean, have few solid friendships, and stop ghosting your own good progress. So while Plato was off designing his ideal city and banning poets, Aristotle was busy categorizing sea creatures, inventing logic, founding biology, and asking, what's the point of all of this? His answer? Everything has a purpose, including you. And you'll live your best life by respecting the golden mean, avoiding extremes, and developing habits that make you a balanced, thoughtful human being. In short, Aristotle was the philosopher who told us to find our purpose, be rational, and chill in moderation. Honestly, if your therapist and your life coach had a toga wearing baby, it would probably be Aristotle. The only problem were his views on everybody else who wasn't a man, a free man more specifically. But that's a topic for another time. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Philosophy Basics, and let me know down in the comments below which philosopher do you agree with the most. I'm that philosophy girl, and if you like academia, philosophy, or you're just here for a good cup of coffee, subscribe, follow, and tag along.